Welcome! Adega Outlaw! Like the birds for Stone Loki! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 7 Kinds of Mischief! God help me if the camera ever catches me, because I'm like, I've got my hands up. I'm like the birds. Adega Outlaw. Oh my God, dude. I was just looking at the camera and that little red light's on. I'm like, I hope it's not recording me right now. Son of a bitch, man. If people ever saw, people would be thinking, I wonder what he does when the camera's off. Shit. It's nothing bad. It'd be embarrassing because I'm like behind the microphone. God help me.
I don't think it'd be embarrassing. You might get a bigger audience.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing out there? It's good to see you, Penny. Good evening, Penny. It's good to see you. Chris Spurgeon, the Wrench of Wrenches, is here. Lady Mist, the Guardian of the Void, is here. Daybob, my brother from another mother. Daybob's here. I think I said Chris Spurgeon already. Good evening. Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000 is here. All right, so.
Festus just popped in.
What's up at Festus? Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. We have got a interesting show for you tonight. A couple things from Adega, and I've got a weird story for you. Where are we starting here? You said pictures. Oh, what is he laughing
Picture
about?
of the guy. Yeah, don't worry about what I'm laughing about. It's a secret, and it's very funny.
Oh, God.
I'm not telling.
Oh, shit.
No, I just, a lot of things in current events that are going on now. Any of you with any type of moral fiber would avoid going to Target for any time soon until they have a change in leadership. There's the things with... a lot of different companies that are being exposed for doing things that I have hinted about for a long time, and now it's all starting to come out.
I was just at Target a couple of days. It was like 3 or 4 days ago, right before all this craziness started with Target.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, well, I guess am I not going back to Target? Is that the way it's working? Not going back to Target.
These are things that I have been hinting at or out and out saying for you as an audience for 2 years now. And now you're starting to see it's all coming out. But this one is not into the dark and cannibalistic and evil and all of that stuff. This one is about this gentleman here. And some of you people know this face. You know his story. And we're going to go over it because something happened recently, what I think you guys might find very interesting. This gentleman's name is Gary McCannon. I'm going to read this article for you. In what U.S. prosecutors have called the biggest military hack of all time, Scottish hacker Gary McCannon says it was all done in an effort to end secrecy regarding UFOs and free energy technology. One of these days I should get into free energy. That's fun stuff. McCannon has been accused of hacking into computer systems belonging to NASA, the U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, Department of Defense, U.S. Air Force. He is fighting extradition. This article is a little old, so he won the extradition, but this gives you a background of what happened 12 years ago. He's fighting extradition to the United States to be held on trial. If extradited, McCannon faces spending the rest of his life in prison, but here, were his efforts in vain, or did he really find something? The extradition never went through. He's a free man, basically, but there are some restrictions and things that he can't talk about. And so they came to a compromise to save embarrassment on one side and keep him out of prison on the other side. In all of the interviews, McCannon talks about 2 UFO-related findings. He told the Guardian newspaper that he thought what he found was so important that he tried to barter with the government. When first caught, he was offered the chance to take a plea bargain and get 3 or 4 year sentence. He turned the offer down to get a lesser sentence and threatened to release everything he had found if they didn't give him a better deal. Unfortunately, for McCannon, the U.S. government wasn't too worried about his revelations. Of course they were, because he got off. So all of that is a moot point at this time. McCannon was inspired by a physician, Dr. Stephen Greer. Some of you may know him. He's the Disclosure Project. He's done a lot of good work, but he's also kind of nuts too, in my opinion. Some stuff's good, some stuff's weird. He tends to get the right people together, but his ideas are a little funky. Greer had brought together a number of witnesses to testify in front of Washington National Press Club that they had knowledge of existing of extraterrestrial visitations and that it was being hidden from the public. That was back in the day before 9/11, and there was some big guys, everyone from NSA, retired Air Force, CIA, all kinds of people that were pointing the finger and saying, yeah, this really happened. And lo and behold, part of the reason why it all disappeared was because of 9/11. One of the witnesses said that they knew of pictures from space were being altered at NASA Johnson Space Center. There's a lot of people that say that, and some of them are really credible. McCannon hacked into the Johnson systems and said he had found high-definition pictures of a large cigar-shaped object over the North Hemisphere. He said that he was so shocked by the picture that he didn't think to immediately save it. He also said that the file size was so large that it was difficult to view on his computer. At the time, you thinking back at when he did this, 2010, we're limited at how fast things were able to be downloaded. Eventually, his connection was lost, and so was the picture. The most shocking find to McCannon, the one he thought would be his ace in the hole negotiating with the U.S. government, was that he found hacking into the U.S. System Space Command. McCannon says he found a log that listed non-terrestrial officers. He doesn't believe that these were aliens, but he believes that this was evidence that the U.S. military has a secret battalion in space. Some of these logs were ship-to-ship transfers. There are a number, I'm just jumping around here a little bit. There are rumors, and you can go ahead. Let me check. Where are we at on here? Yeah, if you wanted to show the other picture, you could go ahead. Not the video yet. There are rumors that he has talked about the names of 2 of the ships he saw on the transfer logs. The names of the ships allegedly being the USS LeMay and the USS Helen Coder. You notice there's an extra S. Typically, Navy ships' names just have 2 S's as an acronym for United States ship. However, there is the 3 S's here, presumably standing for United States spaceship. The names of the ships are also significant. General Curtis Millay was friends with retired Air Force Reserve Major General and former U.S. Senator and from Arizona, Barry Goldwater. Senator Barry Goldwater. Goldwater believed that there was a UFO cover up deep within the government and suspected that his friend LeMay knew about it. There were rumors that there was also UFO evidence being held in secret rooms at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base called the Blue Room. Goldwater told the media several times that when he asked LeMay about this room, LeMay got upset and told him, "Not only can't you get into it, but you don't even ever mention it to me again." All right. The second ship's namesake, Admiral Roscoe Hillenkotter, was the first director of the CIA and was also a member of the UFO Research Organization, the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NICAP. In 1960, the New York Times reported that Hillenkotter had sent a letter to Congress that included the statement, "Behind the scenes, high-ranking Air Force officers are soberly concerned about UFOs. But through official secrecy and ridicule, many citizens are led to believe the unknown flying objects are nonsense." All right, it goes on to conclude, but that's the main part of the article of what Gary McKinnon had said he found. Now, this picture here is supposed to be the Hillenkotter, or a ship that he downloaded. This is the best of his recollection of what it looks like, its size. It was something that he wasn't able to download. He started to print a picture of it. Some of you heard this, and he got maybe the first third going top to bottom and was shut off his connection before he was able to finish. It was one of the things that got him in trouble. But this is supposedly one of the United States secret Space Force ships. I'm of the belief that it's more than just the United States involved because of various different things. But according to the logs, some of the logs that he had are available. Some of the names of the ship-to-ship transfers, the people aboard these ships are had. But pinning them down as actual people is a different matter. There's belief that there are aliases used. But for the most part, I believe this, and I always believe this was accurate, a true story, and that this technology way exceeds what we have, and our government's been hiding it from us. The U.S. government's been hiding it from the world. And then, lo and behold, some of you have seen something most recently, and this is the video that I wanted to to show you. It was repeated several different places. Now, you guys know that I follow Secure Team 10. Some of his stuff's pretty cool. Some of it's a little exaggerated. But for the most part, he tries to be honest. And this comes out of Russia. The only way I believe that is because the language, and the guy swears in Russia at one point, Russian. So you see this thing. At first, it looks just like a regular cigar-shaped ship. I'm going to let it play, and you can hear it. But when we go back the second time, pay closer attention.
Ебучий случай, блядь, НЛО какой-то нахуй. Блядь. Где?
Now you look at closer inspection, it looks a lot closer to what I just showed you on the other with the geometric domes, only a little bit larger than what the previous ones would have been 30, 40 years ago. To me, that is one of ours, and they are doing their
Ебучий случай,
spy
блядь, НЛО
work
какой-то нахуй.
because of the conflicts that are going over in other parts of the world, and some incursions into Russia now, militarily, as well as into Ukraine. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. This may not be alien at all, and I seriously doubt it is. I think that is one of ours. And there's all kinds of evidence that says that more than likely that is a U.S. ship and not something from deep space. Oh, someone says I got the nipple going on. Dang it. All right, let me change my avatar real quick. see if that works. Why that does that, I don't know. And I'm very sorry. But there you have it. Yes, Dave Bob, born in the USA. I very much believe that. There you go.
All right. Thank you. Adega and Psychodorp 9 with $5 super chat says, gears down, wheels chalked, ears on. Let's do this. Thank you so very much, Psychodorp 9, for that $5 super chat, brother. This one is just for you. Skull!
Long live the fighters!
All right.
Heck yeah.
I've got a strange tale for you tonight. It's called There's a Diner in New England, open 25 hours a day. It's written by Christopher Maxim.
All right.
Late one night, I found myself driving down what seemed like an endless stretch of road. I was on my way back from a week-long business trip, facing at least a 12-hour drive home. Having always been scared of flying, the monotonous trek was unavoidable. Though tedious and sometimes downright soul-crushing, I'd grown used to lonely road trips back and forth from state to state. In an effort to minimize my commute, I usually refrained from making pit stops. I would push through exhaustion and discomfort, making my way home in one fell swoop. Would then enter my bedroom and meet my blankets with a hard thud, falling asleep almost immediately after my head hit the pillow. Picturing my eventual slumber is what kept my foot on the gas pedal. On this drive, however, I grew particularly hungry. I tried to ignore the feeling, but this became increasingly difficult as the night went on. I found myself longing for sustenance, fantasizing about dreadful gas station food, anything that would placate my insatiable late-night hunger. I was between a rock and a hard place, as tightly squashed as one could be. Unable to fight off the urge to eat any longer, I gave in to my stomach's groaning and got off the highway somewhere in Massachusetts. I'd been to the state on several occasions, but this time I was in unfamiliar territory. There were many trees, more than the average Capeside town. On top of that, there were no buildings in sight, despite the lack of residential growth. I was sure I could snip out a convenience store and indulge in a microwave burrito or a slice of pizza. I drove on for what must have been 30 minutes or so. No gas station, no fast food, no buildings of any kind. Just miles and miles of wooden area. Worst of all, I didn't even have a phone signal to pull up my GPS. I was just about to give up on Operation Midnight Run when I saw a faint glow off in the distance. The signal to me that I must have been reaching the outskirts of civilization. Furthermore, it meant nourishment was just around the corner. As I approached the glimmering light, I realized that of a large neon sign. Coming closer, I was able to make out what it said. Supernova Diner. Followed by an even larger subheading, open 25 hours a day. I guess that they really wanted to drive the we never close angle home. Hold on one second. And there you go. There you go, e-hacker. And in a cheeky manner, no less. Cheekier and larger still, there was a big flashing arrow beneath the sign pointing to the diner in question. Hungry as ever, I pulled in without hesitation. I jumped out of my car and rushed towards the entrance, but not before taking a quick look at the place. It was a beautiful retro-themed silver boxcar diner. The smooth metal exterior gleamed in the moonlight as I walked up to it. It was so sleek and well-crafted that I wondered why it was located in the middle of nowhere. Could they really get by on the odd passerby here and there? After admiring the diner's craftsmanship, I barged in, intent on satisfying my late-night case of the munchies. The diner was void of life, but I heard a voice yell out from the kitchen, "Be right there!" While I waited for service, I surveyed my surroundings. A gorgeous red checkerboard pattern painted the interior of the building, lining the perimeter with red booths and tables so immaculate they looked as though they'd never been touched by human hands. To top it all off, there was a row of similarly red identical cushioned bar stools at the counter. The diner definitely had a classic 50s vibe to it, but it was too crisp and clean to feel truly authentic. After a few minutes of waiting, a middle-aged man came out from behind the kitchen drying his hands with a dish rag. "Hello there, welcome to the Supernova Diner. My name's Hank and I'll be your server tonight. How may I help you?" Hank wore a retro soda jerk cap, comically large bow tie, a spotless white apron, and a smile almost too wide for his face. He pointed up at the large menu on the wall behind him where I noticed quirky food items like the Milky Way shake, galaxy sliders, and planet fries. "Yeah, I'll have, well, whatever the special is." I didn't feel like asking him to translate the menu for me. Plus, I didn't really care what I was eating as long as my stomach stopped growling. "All right, sir, Nebula Express coming right up." Hank shot me another awkwardly wide smile. To escape his eager glare, I pulled out my phone and glanced at the screen. Still, no signal, but I noticed that it was approaching midnight. I groaned a bit, knowing that my detour had cost me a swift return home. Still, I knew I couldn't ignore my biological needs any longer. Would have ended up stopping at some point anyway. Put my phone in my pocket and looked back at the counter. Hank was still there, smiling away. Shouldn't you be working on my order?" He didn't react to my query. Instead, he remained silent and motionless. "All right, I'm going to leave now. Bye." Just as I turned around to head for the door, Hank spoke up. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." "Why is that?" I asked. "Well, it'd be a waste of time, partner." I turned back and glared at him. "What are you talking about? Are you going to get my food?" He laughed at me. "You can't leave now. Fun's just about to start. Your order's being prepared as we speak. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride." Hank pulled out a stopwatch from his apron. The digital readout appeared to be counting backwards from an hour. I didn't know if it was a restaurant gimmick or a strange prank at my expense, but either way, I wasn't having it. "Hank, it's been weird. Thanks for nothing. Bye." I turned around and continued marching towards the exit. As I did, my jaw dropped. The door was gone. My eyes quickly darted from left to right, revealing to me that the windows had vanished as well. There was nothing but continuous wall on either side of me. Perplexed, I looked back to Hank. He chuckled to himself and asked me a question. "How do you like your meat?" "What?" "Your meat. How do you like it?" "Burn it. Well done. I like it burnt. Well done." "Well done, huh? I like my meat as red as possible. Little color does the body good." I looked at him confused. "Hank, where's the door?" "Well, let's just say it's temporarily unavailable. Anything else I can help you with?" What in the hell is going on here? "Well, there are a number of possibilities. I've outlined them here on the menu." Hank pointed up the menu again, only this time the food items were gone. The letters had seemingly been rearranged to form bulletin points, numbered 1 to 3. 1. During your business trip, one of your colleagues slipped you some LSD as part of a half-hearted practical joke. What you are experiencing now is a product of the drug's potent hallucinogenic properties? "I like that one," Hank said. "Unlikely, but it's fun, wouldn't you say?" I moved on to the next possibility. 2, you fell asleep at the wheel. This is merely a vivid dream that will continue until you inevitably crash your car and die on impact. Alternatively, you may have already crashed your car and lived, albeit barely. You're currently in a coma, and your sleeping mind has formed a narrative based on the hunger you felt before the accident. The diner is a metaphor for the coma, and you won't escape until you awaken, which may very well be never. Hank bore a look of concern. Little morbid, I'll admit, but it is possible. I reluctantly looked at the last option. 3, something supernatural is afoot. Mysterious forces beyond your comprehension are at play, trapping you in an otherwise normal eatery. These forces will not allow you to leave under any circumstances. The best thing you can do is accept this and allow yourself to succumb to whatever classic paranormal tropes are thrown your way. Death will be your only escape. That's all I could come up with, Hank said. I'm not sure myself, but I'm leaning towards number 3, partner. What the hell? What the hell is this? And shouldn't you of all people know? Well, you would think so, partner, wouldn't you? But I guess I wouldn't tell you if I did, now would I? He offered me another one of his smiles as a consolation. I wanted to punch it clean off of his freaking face. Instead, I partook in a nervous breakdown of sorts. I slammed my body up against the wall where the door had been. I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I even grabbed a few bar stools and tossed them in different directions, as hard as my arms would allow. All the while, Hank remained calm and still, his lips stretched from ear to ear. Just as I was about to take a swing at him, the kitchen doors behind him popped open. Oh, your order must be ready. Please come with me. Hank disappeared into the darkness beyond the kitchen's door frame. I stayed behind, hesitant to follow him. After a few moments, I heard him yell out to me, "Come on, kid! Aren't you hungry?" It's true. I was hungry. But I was more cautious, especially given my peculiar situation. Because of this, I sat down on one of the booths and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for, but it was all I could bring myself to do at that very moment. It wasn't long before I heard Hank's voice again. "You can't wait out there forever, kid. Come on." As if in response to this statement, the lights in the diner began to flicker. Then one by one they went out, spreading darkness from booth to booth. Eventually, I was left with just one bulb above me, wavering in and out of life. It provided me with just enough light to make my way to the kitchen. Hank knew it. I had two choices: go into the dark kitchen or let the bulb go out and sit in the dark diner forever. Neither option was ideal, but deep down I knew only one had the potential to lead me to answers. No matter which one of the far-fetched scenarios on the menu was true, as such, I gave in to the narrative that was unfolding around me. It was clear to me at this point that fighting was futile. As I passed the threshold into the kitchen, the door shut itself behind me. Bright light poured out from the ceiling, washing over the entire room, revealing vibrant white walls and flooring. In the center of the room was a chair slanted in a diagonal position, not unlike one you'd find in a dentist's office. Next to the chair was Hank, who had traded in his diner uniform for a flashy white lab coat. "Finally, partner, come on, sit down, take a load off." Only out of fear for what might happen next if I disobeyed, I did as Hank said. It's not like I had much of a choice. I slowly walked over to the chair and laid down. As I did this, leather straps wrapped themselves around my legs, arms, and forehead. I no longer had the luxury of movement or peripheral vision. Hank walked around to the front of the chair and pulled out his stopwatch. "You're doing great, kid. Only 40 minutes left." Without warning, 6 or 7 shadowy figures came rushing over from either side of me. They brought with them rolling carts filled with what looked like metal equipment and power tools. I tried to make out even a single face in the crowd, but I couldn't. They lacked discernible features of any kind and moved about in perfect harmony with one another, like animated silhouettes doing the bidding of some unseen higher power. Over the course of the next few minutes, the figures poked and prodded me, drew blood, took hair samples, inserted their utensils in places I would rather not discuss. As much as I squirmed and screamed, none of them reacted, not even Hank. Feeling helpless, I eventually stopped struggling and simply braced myself for each needle that penetrated my skin. After a while, the figures stopped. Instead of going away like I'd hoped they would, they traded their needles and test tubes for surgical scissors and began cutting my clothes off. This continued until I was completely naked. I tried talking to Hank, but he was too busy playing around with the samples that had been collected. Even if he did respond, no amount of encouragement could have prepared me for what happened next. Using nothing but scalpels and brute strength, the figures began cutting away. It was an absolutely horrific orchestra of deadly incisions, and one that continued until they peeled off every last bit of my epidermis. For one reason or another, I remained both alive and awake during the entire ordeal, though at the time, I wish I wouldn't. The pain was excruciating and came in waves. Just when I thought I was going numb, another unbearable, sharp, throbbing sensation would overtake my entire body. Never felt anything like it before. By the end of it, my ears were ringing with the volume of my own screams. "There's that color!" Hank exclaimed, gazing at the bloody mess that I'd become. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Man, I'm not doing anything. Boy, you need to relax. Only 27 minutes left." Through blood-soaked eyes, I could see Hank mouthing the words tick-tock, over and over again. I watched him mock me until the buzzing stopped and the next stage of torture commenced. I never wanted to see my organs. I never wanted to see my bone. I could have gone my whole life without knowing what the hell they look like. Now, I can't get the image of them out of my head. I'll never forget. After successfully ripping apart my skin and muscles, the shadowy figures took hammers to my insides, smashing up my spleen, stomach, liver, kidneys, and lungs. They broke through the brittle white ivory that made up my skeleton, making sure to leave no bone unturned. They even destroyed my skull and scooped my brain matter into jars. After all was said and done, they cleaned up my remains like fallen hair in a barber shop and swiftly left the room. You're probably wondering how I lived. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure. They stripped away every physical aspect of my being, but I was still there. A sort of bubble of floating consciousness. I could still hear, see, but I was without a material body. As jarring as this realization was, I was just happy to no longer be in pain. I didn't realize it, but Hank was still in the room. He walked over to me and leaned in real close, stopwatch in hand. "See there, son? Now that wasn't so bad, was it? And looky here. You've only got 18 minutes left. How will you spend the time? What things will you see? We've had our fun. Now it's your turn." Hank turned around and walked out the kitchen door, leaving me alone in the white room. And within an instant, things began to change. The walls, floor, and ceiling faded, revealing an array of distant stars behind them. I somehow went from being in a diner on planet Earth to floating around in the vacuum of space within mere moments. Within seconds of the room completely fading from view, I was unwillingly hurled through the universe at light speed. Everything around me blurred, and my bodiless soul spun around uncontrollably. If I had had a stomach, it would have been turning. I'll never forget what I experienced in the coming moments, but I'll never fully remember it either. Even now, I only have access to bits and pieces of what happened. Perhaps the extreme velocity in which I traveled somehow damaged the fragile fabric of my memory, rendering me unable to retain the information I was presented with. Or maybe it's just my feeble mind can't process the imagery. Who knows? In truth, I can only tell you what I felt. That will never go away. As I sped through deep space, I was stopped in specific locations, mostly foreign planets and dead star systems. In these moments, I saw unspeakable things. gruesome things, things I never knew could exist in the universe. I was plagued with disturbing sights and concepts of horrific proportions, so horrendous it made my impromptu autopsy look tame in comparison. I don't know exactly what it was out there, but I still feel an immense dread whenever I try and recall it. After what felt like an eternity of torture, I was transported to what I can only assume was a location outside of the observable universe. There were no stars or any light to speak of, not even off in the distance. I was alone in a blanket of darkness, left to suffer with the memories of what I'd endured. Just as I was beginning to accept my circumstance, a light glow appeared in the distance. As it came closer to my position, I recognized its features. It was Hank, with his stopwatch. 10, 9, 8. I started to feel weary, almost like I was falling into a deep sleep. Wondered if that was even possible in my current state. 7, 6, 5. Like a projected movie, the past hour of my life appeared on the black canvas of space behind the stopwatch. Played in reverse at high speed, like a VHS tape stuck on rewind. 4, 3, 2. Feeling faint, I tried to focus on the imagery. I relived everything that had happened to me in the diner within a few seconds. 1, 0, and poof. Just like that, I was back in the diner parking lot, body and flesh intact. My car was there next to me, right where I parked it. I took out my phone and checked the time. It was 12:01. Everything had returned normal, somehow, to the way it was before. Elated, I jumped into my car and started it. I was about to drive off like a bat out of hell, but I decided to take one last look at the diner. Somehow, within its walls, there does exist an extra hour in the day. How that's possible and what its purpose is, I can't be certain. Maybe Hank was right and that third scenario had something to do with it. The only thing I do know is that I survived. I won't be making another pit stop anytime soon, no matter how hungry I get. Just then, before my eyes, the diner lifted itself from its foundation and flew into the night sky. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the tale of the diner that is open 25 hours a day.
That was not one of ours.
That one was not one of ours. Holy shit.
First, I'm thinking Cinnabites, and then I went to Phantasm, and I go, no, I can't picture this. That was pretty, oh, gosh. Yeah, freaky. That one was dark. I liked it.
So that one was good. I liked it too. So thank you guys so much. E-Hacker, if you're still here. E-Hacker said, can I be a mod or am I not cool enough? Every once in a while, I'll hand a wrench out to someone besides the team. But yeah.
Very rare and very
I've known
special
you for
people.
a long time. So, yeah, I think Polly has one too. Mike has one. But that's it. Polly, Mike, and now John.
Yeah.
Besides the wrenches of Valhalla. So, whoever said hell wasn't somewhere in space. Mm-hmm. Kind of makes you wonder what all that dark evil stuff is that he was seeing. Dead worlds and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-mm. Nope. Well, guys, that's it. That's it for today. We'll be back in the morning with Daybob and the Lady Arwen Avalon for some weekend review. I want to thank Adega for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you as always. This is always fun.
Indeed. I love getting to do these with Adega. Lady Miss, thank you for being here. Chris Persia, Psychodorp 9, Dave Bob, John E. Hacker, if you're still there, thank you. Penny, Alan Copeland. What is up, Alan? How are you doing, brother? Thank you guys so very much. Brandon, Looney Tunes fan 2000. Leia Rose. Good evening, Leia Rose. Good evening, everybody. It's so great to have you guys here. Until next week, take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend honor.
Always.
We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody. Orale! Adega knows, but we can't talk about it. Shh. Good night, everybody.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.